You might think that the Australian Labor Party would have learned its lesson after the last election, and that is, the further left they take themselves, the less votes they garner. We have seen this happen around the world time and again, where countries who offer up far-left candidates in their traditional centre-left party all fail miserably. Look at Corbyn in the UK, Bill Shorten here last time, while in Israel the Labor Party is almost non-existent. Most Australians who lean left do not want the policies of the far left, but the Labor Party here currently insists on trying to out-left the Greens. I am referring, of course, to the announcement that if Anthony Albanese wins the next election and becomes Prime Minister, the Labor Party will recognise Palestine as a state. This has been brewing for years, and despite the assurances of ex-MP Michael Danby, Labor has been clearly drifting away from support of Israel and embracing Palestine, whatever that means. And this then raises questions for the Labor Party. Questions such as, do you really have no problem with the Palestinian Authority's pay for slay program, where convicted terrorists are paid a stipend? Do you really have no problem with the Nazi-style anti-Semitism coming out of Hamas and the Palestinian Authority? And what about the incitement of kindergarten children to become martyrs by killing Jews, and honour killings of women, and the throwing of gays off rooftops? It just beggars belief. I'm recording this video a few days after this Labor announcement was made, because I waited to see what our communal organisations would have to say about it. Well, just as well I didn't hold my breath, because neither the Executive Council of Australian Jewry, the Zionist Federation of Australia or AJAC has posted anything on their Facebook pages about this. It's as if it all didn't happen. AJAC's Colin Rubinstein was interviewed by Chris Kenny on Sky News Australia about it, but all he could do was bleat about the two-state solution, so much so that even Kenny could be seen shaking his head. And herein lies the rub. Our main communal organisations are so wedded to the two-state solution that they can't conceive of any other formula for peace. And if the Labor Party is pushing this barrow, then our organisations may as well let them go for it. But let me make one point very clearly. The AJA is no fan of the two-state solution. In fact, we call it the two-state delusion. This formula has been around for over 100 years and has proven to be a dismal failure every time it has been attempted. Not because of the Israelis, mind you, but because of the Palestinian Arabs, whose only aim is to replace Israel with another Arab state, rather than live alongside Israel peacefully as the Jewish state. And as the saying goes, those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it. So the plan is to again raise this Palestine issue at the upcoming Labor conference, and it will be interesting to see how the moderates in Labor try to wriggle out of this one. If it eventuates, this is also going to be a real test for traditional Jewish Labor voters in this country. They will either have to face the truth that Labor has abandoned Israel and look to vote elsewhere, or, as I suspect, they will rationalise the whole situation because it is easier to ignore the facts and delude themselves that it isn't all that bad. Senator Penny Wong is one of the less radical Labor politicians, but her repeated comments that the Labor Party was also a strong supporter of Israel have been sounding very hollow for a long time now. It really is crunch time for the Labor Party and their supporters. If they are smart, they will stop this drift to the far left. But I somehow think that this issue is snowballing, and nobody in the party can do a thing about it. This is Alan Freedman for the Australian Jewish Association.